Hey, everybody. That was pretty immediate. Sorry, I'm testing out this new awesome way to live stream here to the Nest. I'm so glad that everybody can join us tonight. I am here this evening with Amanda, one of our awesome Nest mods, as well as obviously the guest of the hour, Kaylie Smith. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Sorry about the little technical difficulty.
Please.
And Amanda understands. Poor Amanda's been having technical difficulties all day.
And for most of my life, but especially today.
So, Kaylie, your book, A Ruinous Fate, it released on, I believe, January 3rd of this year.
Yes, I know.
So it's been a wonderful month, hasn't it?
It has been. I can't believe it's already been a month, to be honest. It's like gone by so fast.
I picked it up on the release day. And then I failed to read it for an entire month. But you forgave me.
Absolutely. I get it. Life, right? The new year, I feel like things just get so crazy.
January doesn't count.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the test month. We go in slow, you know. We're all, holiday hungover. Nothing is real.
Time is just a construct.
Kaylie, for anybody who does not know you or your book, can you give me a little bit of an elevator pitch?
Yes. Okay. So, A Ruinous Fate is about a witch named Calla, whose fate is tied to these magical artifacts called witches' dice. And this has not really worked out so well for Calla. Every time she rolls one of these magic dice, she becomes a little more cursed. And she is destined, the more she rolls the dice, to start a war that will basically eradicate the magic of every witch in her world. And so she is trying everything in her power to escape from that fate, but she's betrayed by her ex-boyfriend, and it kind of comes to this head where she kind of has to make a decision of how she's going to go forward. And she gets this offer from this mysterious witch to kind of go with him on this journey to a forest and reset their fates. And it turns out that the witch she gets the offer from is her ex-boyfriend's hot older brother. So it's a lot of drama, a lot of angst. It's very fun. That's pretty much it in a nutshell.
I mean, we like the older brother trope.
Oh, yes, it's key.
We are an entire group of fantasy romance lovers.
Oh,
Say
I
less.
love it.
That's an utilized trope too. I feel like people could use that one more.
Yeah, it's like
there's opportunities.
I was raised by the angst and the drama of like the Vampire Diaries and things like that, and I just love mess. Like, it's my favorite.
You like to read the book like, ooh.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I want like just the max amount of drama going on at all times. It's really fun to write too, because there's just like an endless possibilities of what you can kind of do with it.
I have to ask though, do you get into like arguments with your characters in your head? Is that how that plays out?
Okay. Yes. You know what? I read recently that people don't love when authors describe their writing process this way, but it's literally so true. Like it's hard to describe otherwise, that they don't like talk to me, but I feel like they're so well developed in my head that I can tell when they don't want to do something that I have like outlined for them to do. Like it's very much like a stop and like reevaluate. Like I would never do this thing. So like the worst offender is a character named Delphine. She will always tell me when she doesn't want to do something. So we never stick to the outline.
I love that. Who said that they don't like it when authors do that?
Oh, I think it was a joke, but they were like every time authors describe, it's like the characters are like speaking to them. I think they don't experience it like that, so it was just kind of like a
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
like that's unfair. Yeah.
I'm one of those readers that fully hallucinates a novel.
Mm-hmm,
I don't really look at I'm probably the worst to actually recommend certain books because then people will go, "You liked that, but like the grammar was bad." I was like, "What grammar? What words? There was no words." Like
Yeah.
it was a hallucination.
Yeah. I'm a very escapism reader too, especially when I was a teenager. Like, I mean, as an adult, I feel like I read more critically, or like when I write, I think more critically. But oh man, I used to just consume, which was like a really fun time. So
Well, now you know that about me. I will give you a very great book if you're that type of reader. But like if you are not the person who sees things when you read, maybe my recommendations won't be for you.
oh my gosh, when people describe that, they don't see like a movie in their head. My brain can't wrap around that because I mean, like it's just like always there when I read. It's like the scenes, right?
I feel like I get like most of that. I don't know. Sometimes some books are definitely a little bit more like vivid than others, or like certain scenes I can picture easier. Other ones I'm just like, it gets too complicated, like especially fight scenes, and I'm like, right, so just blurs emotion, got it. Like
Fight
Like
scenes are
cuts
rough.
to like Street Fighter,
Yeah.
like 2D.
yeah,
virtual
basically that's what my brain renders to. Second Street Fighter.
Sometimes when they're describing things, I will think of it in like almost an illustrated sort of fashion, especially if I just want to blur the edges.
hmm I love that as a medium. I like adaptations that are like animated too. There's just something about it. So much more vivid.
What are your favorites? I really like Castlevania.
Ooh, that is a good one. Honestly, Howl's Moving Castle is my favorite book and movie.
Of course.
Yeah, it's just like the
It's
way
beloved.
yeah, the way animation can bring something to life. I've always said like I love that for adaptations, and I think it should be utilized more in like YA fantasy spaces. And you
I've
know,
seen some really cool fan-made stuff about ACOTAR on TikTok lately. That people have
mm,
used like AI generators to take fan art that's already created and make the faces move.
oh
And
my
now they're
gosh,
making like scenes.
oh my
It's
gosh,
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
technology.
And all of the comments are like, we should have this as like, and if we had like animated, we could get them faster. So there's that.
And sorry, because this is my big stickler and why I generally tend to hate like adaptations. You can get much more accurate like portrayal of a character if you don't have to search for an actual human that looks like, I mean, let's face it, like realistically, are you gonna find somebody that looks like some of these guys? No. No, you're not. You
It's
know?
I For me, it's like
Especially
always the
shifters.
magic. Like, yeah, or like it just like the depiction of magic in general. Like I think of like the Mortal Instruments adaptations and stuff, and I'm like, it would have been so cool animated because it's just like some things I feel like we're not capable of like shooting with camera.
And I'd really like a claymation ACOTAR. Like think James and the Giant Peach. That'd be amazing. Imagine the surreal.
Someone get Tim Burton on that. Everybody would end up like dead, it'd be fine.
I feel like it would slice us all down the middle. We would either hate it, it'd be like, this is the worst thing ever. But I would be like with popcorn, just like Calgon take me away.
It would definitely be a train wreck, but I would love every second of it. Yeah.
Isn't that every adaptation really?
I mean, listen, I'm a sucker for the Mortal Instruments movie. I know it's horrible. I know it's horrible, but I love
No,
that thing. That thing comes
it's
on and
so good.
on. Cannot turn away. I can't turn away.
That actually was my partner and I. That was our first date. Like over a decade ago was he took me to see the Mortal Instruments movie. So a very fond place for it in my heart.
Yeah.
We all know the bad ones, the unspeakably bad adaptations. And the Mortal Instruments wasn't there.
Mm-mm.
It was Aragon. We know that.
I've never saw it actually. I've
That's
never
good.
seen
Me,
it.
Just
me
don't.
either.
It's actually being remade. If anybody follows Christopher Paolini on TikTok, like I do, A+, you can see him burly in the snow. And then also you get all of the information about him being a producer for Aragon for Disney. So it's actually going to be a Disney Plus series.
Oh, love that.
Isn't it cool? But back to your book, because we will go off on these tangents. Can you share what inspired a Ruinous Fate? When I opened the book, it was like this tavern atmosphere with trolls. And I was like, this is D&D. And I've only played like several, like maybe 3 or 4 D&D sessions in my whole life. And I have a huge love for D&D and dice and things like that. So I was like, this has to be somewhat inspired by D&D. Okay. Leah was wondering too. Awesome.
Yeah, it's so I always say like the action fantasy version of it was very much inspired by D&D and board games. My family and I are like notorious like board game people. It's like a whole thing. And like beyond what's normal, I feel like. But so it's like growing up playing board games, being really competitive. My partner and I collect board games and play Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. And I had kind of started an iteration of this book back when I was a teenager, but the plot was never like clicking. I always had like this ensemble of characters, and at one point, Calla, like for a long time, was not even the pivotal main character, but she kind of kept popping in on me. But I just couldn't find like what connected them. And I feel like while you're learning your craft and when you're really young and things like that, like sometimes it just takes writing and writing and writing to kind of get there. And during the pandemic, we were playing a lot of board games, like virtually with our friends and stuff, because we were stuck inside all the time. And I lost actually a game of Monopoly pretty bad. And it was it was because it's kind of like a point of contention, but my partner can get anything he wants. So he will just barter anything in Monopoly and he'll end up owning like half the board. And I think at one point I had to roll a certain amount on the dice to like escape getting bankrupt, and I didn't. And I don't know what happened in my brain, but it just like clicked in that moment. And then I kind of started like thinking about like the D&D elements I love, like a kind of this idea that a simple roll of a dice can completely change the course that you are on. And it kind of just like came to me, and it finally like made sense, like what Calla was running from and all of these elements and stuff. And I just kind of like built the world around that. Like, how much fun would it be to like kind of choose your own adventure? But she's also trying to escape it the whole time. Like, she just wants to be at the helm of like her own decisions. So it was really fun to explore.
I love that. So yeah, Leah, I think Leah's probably watching. Yeah, you're right. D&D. And it almost has cozy vibes too. I mean, it's very murdery. Don't get me wrong. This is not Legends of Mates.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
But it's different. Very cozy.
Yeah, it's like, it's something about like friendship, like not to be like the power of friendship, but like I always kind of liked the idea that like a core friendship and like just those cozy nights with your girlfriends in college where you're all like cuddled on the couch together and stuff like that. I really wanted to have that vibe to it because like very nostalgic for that time in my life. And so when I was like growing, which also really inspired like Calla's growth arc. So I'm glad that vibe comes off because it was definitely intentional. Like I want it to be like a little snuggly, but also like danger lurking at every corner.
It's like dropping the cast of Friends into a horrible D&D fantasy world.
I love that description. Yeah.
Which would be a very weird yet cool Kindle Unlimited series. If anybody wants to write that, that'd be amazing.
I was about to say.
Now, Words and Whimsy could talk about witchy things forever. When did you discover your love of astrology and all things witchy?
Very, very young. I feel like my mom was kind of into it when I was very young. And I kind of just like picked up on it, and I'm like, I love anything that kind of can delve into my self which I don't know if that's like narcissistic or not, but I just love the idea of like knowing every facet of my personality. So like astrology always fascinated me in that way. And then I where I'm from, like a lot of people are very religious, but I never was. So I think I was always kind of searching for like my own spirituality and like something that I connected to more. And I'm an earth sign. I'm like very earthy. I love nature and like being connected to nature, which is where like the sentient forest and the book comes from, stuff like that. And so, yeah, early on, I was just like always into very witchy things because to me, that was like the avenue. Like, I want to be spiritual and like this stuff interests me. So I kind of just like ran with it. I love the moon. I'm very into all of that.
So I have to guess now. Earth sign.
Mhm.
Taurus or Virgo?
I'm a Taurus. I'm actually a Taurus sun and moon. Yes.
See, I'm not bad.
No, it's good.
I've long been obsessed with astrology, and I do bother the Words and Whimsy mods with it, and the members actually, whether they like it or not.
Me too. That's literally in my bio. I'm like always annoying somebody about astrology. It's so much fun.
For everybody's saying what their astrology, like astrological sign is. I'm an Aries, with a Leo rising, which
Ooh.
will everybody can see it now. But a Pisces moon. So
I'm
Okay.
just a Pisces because I can never figure out all the other stuff. Mainly because I know you have to know like the time of your birth, right?
Mhm.
And all my mom can ever remember, like the date, obviously. She's like, the Cosby Show was on. Okay.
so
I
we'll
feel like
dial
you
that
either
back. We need to figure out what time the Cosby Show was on back in
Well, I mean, I
1980.
figure at that time it was during its original run, so it would have been like a primetime show. So I'm assuming somewhere between 6 and 7, maybe,
Nice.
would be
I
my
feel like
guess.
I feel like narrowing it down, yeah. I feel like
Yeah.
you either you have a mom who like knows your blood type the second you were born, what day of the week it was, and then you have the moms who are like, I don't know, it was sometime in the winter.
I'm sure my mom doesn't know my blood type either.
Oh my gosh, my mom will just like whip that out sometimes, and I'm just like, why do you remember that? She's like,
I
it's
I know my
remember
important.
blood type just because it's
I do not know
not
mine.
super
necessary
common.
medical information.
No, it's probably something I should know now that I think about it, but it's fine.
Folks, know your blood type. I'm A negative. How about you? Kaylie, I'm sorry. I'm trying to grab my breath from having this flu. A magical forest is one of Maud Leah's. Can you tell that Leah did all of the book work? Like Leah is so obsessed with this book. As soon as we hear queer fantasy, we're like, well, say less, bestie. It's one of it's one of their favorite tropes. How did you go about creating such a lush and unique environment?
Yeah, okay. So the forest was kind of birthed from like two things. One, I love the idea of sentient nature, like plants. I love my house plants. I like to think that they have little personalities and they love me too. So it was very much born from like that. And also, um, it's very hard to keep track of like a timeline in a book. So I was like, what if I just made a forest, like a magic forest, where like time does not exist the same as the outside world? And my copy editor loved that because then neither one of us had to keep track of what day it was. So there was like that kind of element. And then the other part was just like all of the settings and the things could do very much came from like so many things growing up, like video games, and the Enchanted Forest and like Barbie movies, um, like different things we have here because in Louisiana where I'm from, like the weather, it's like it's an ongoing joke that hour to hour it's fully different. Like it's literally pouring rain. Like we have a hurricane 1 second, and then like 30 minutes later, it's like bright and sunny. And I hate it like living here, but I've always been like fascinated with that concept that it's just like constantly changing. And so a lot of the forest was kind of like built around that, like something that can just like change on a whim at any time. And then like the plants and the trees are just things I'm obsessed with here. I love live oak trees. We have a lot of them. I love moss and stuff like that. So I just got to like put all of my love for plants like in this one little forest, which is really cool.
People who are commenting say like Ents. Yes, like the OG living plants. Not quite, but yeah, no, I think that's where everybody's inspiration came from, actually. Tolkien did it first. Tolkien did everything first. How dare he? But A Ruinous Fate, as I'd mentioned, is also filled with representation, and it's so incredibly important to see that in publishing, obviously. I'm queer. I think most of Words Whimsy are queer. From sexual orientation, gender identity, ethnicity, this cast is like really diverse. How important to you was it to include that representation?
When I was thinking about the book I wanted to introduce myself to the world with and like my career with, that was the highest priority to me. I genuinely don't think I would be an author if it wasn't for the fact that I had the opportunity to kind of be part of like pushing publishing in a more diverse direction. Like 5,000% books saved my life when I was younger. And I'm very privileged that there were characters I could see myself in, right? Like everyone was very white back in the day and things like that. So I did have some representation, but like growing up, there was such a huge gap in queer identities as well. And it was just such a struggle to find. I think I was like 18, 19 when I saw my first like bi character on page, like canon. It wasn't just like suggested. And then they were a background character and stuff like that. And I always said like if I ever got the opportunity to like write books myself, that's all I want to do is to be able to have teens not have to struggle to find the spectrum of experiences they're going through on the page. And there are so many authors who have come before me who have paved that way for me to even be in publishing at all. And I'm so grateful for them. And I'm just genuinely so grateful to be part of the conversation and like add anything to it. But it was so cathartic and healing for me because I like I'm genderqueer, I'm bisexual, and like my experiences with my different partners over the years are just like I feel like niche sometimes, like so specific. So when I sat down to write like an ensemble cast, I was like, oh, we're about to go like every possibility I can put into it and like just have so much fun. So it definitely was just the number one thing in my mind.
One of my favorite things when I'm reading a fantasy novel, as somebody who is non-binary, is to see pronouns be used in a very casual fashion. Because if you bring like attention to it, I'm like, oh, you did that. But that's the lovely thing about A Ruinous Fate. It's just there.
Yes,
People are
that is
having fun with swords and magic, and that's exactly the type of queer fantasy that I like. I understand the importance of a lot of books bringing a lot of attention to specific, more difficult topics, but sometimes we just need some fun.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear you say that. Honestly, like I keep calling it like casual queerness because it's like the world is so queer normative that I never introduce it. It's just like is what it is. And I love that so much, like to think as a reader that you don't have to like come to terms with it or honestly even try to self-identify. It could be something that you just read casually and then later when you're growing into your own identity, it like clicks in your head like, "Oh my gosh, like I read something that like made this feel so normal and safe." And that's really what I wanted to be. And I did the same thing with like Kala being like plus sized. I've been plus size like fat my whole entire life. And I was just like, I don't want to put a spotlight on that. I don't want to draw attention to it. It's just like she is, and it's really fun. And I get to have like little moments that are like funny, that aren't like fat phobic or anything like that. Like when she has to put on a pair of Delphine's pants and they're wildly different size. I don't know if anyone else had the experience growing up, but like leaving a sleepover and I didn't have another pair of pants, so you have to like squeeze into your friends and they're just like fully unzipped, and it's just like, well, this is where we're at. And so like I kind of included experiences like that in there too with her. And it's just like so nice that it's just like casual and don't have to think about it too much.
Well, I mean, if you are, and I am as well, you don't live your life in constant notice of it. So
Never. Yeah.
Right.
Like
right.
I never think about that. It's always
No.
been other people like pointing it out. And I'm like, I just don't see myself that way. And that's definitely what I wanted to get across when I was writing it. I was like, everyone, like, no one needs to notice that.
Yeah. From the second you crawled through the window, I was like, been there as a teenager.
Yes. And sometimes it's like a struggle. Like, oh my gosh, the tiny little windows and you can't make too much noise. Oh yeah, that was a direct experience. Hopefully my mother is not watching.
No, that's okay.
Is it bad that I've just recently climbed through a window like a couple of years ago?
I love that.
Did you forget? Did you lock yourself out?
I locked myself out of my house, and I thankfully had a window that was not locked, and also the screen slid back and forth. So I was like, let me just shimmy up the side of the house.
You're in a bi-level too, right? So did you have to go down or up?
Oh, no. So it's right by my front door, right? So I had to climb onto a ledge that was about that wide. It's about that wide. Get like half my, mind you, this window is like this and it's up. So I had to like lift my leg up, slide it in, shift like half my body through, then try to find where the couch that is thankfully like the little seat thing is right there, and then like slide my body through that way and then like twist and pull my leg through. It was I'm shocked I didn't kill myself. I was shocked. I was pretty impressed.
So Kayla has that exact
I was gonna say you just described the exact scene that happened. Yes. It's humbling. We've all been there.
I was sitting there going through the thing like, I don't think I've contorted my body this much in like a really long time.
Which character did you have the most fun writing? Because I feel like it wasn't Kayla, because you said she kept banging on your door.
Yeah,
she was demanding to be the main character.
Yeah, Kayla was definitely like the most emotionally intense, like attentive. But my most fun character, hands down, Delphine. She is so funny, and I don't feel like I'm very funny, like intentionally. And so it was just really nice to like write someone who was like way cooler than me. Delphine's also like the kind of person I wish I was, because you know when like someone's like insulting you and you're in an argument and you don't think of a comeback till 30 minutes later. Delphine has it tip of her tongue before you've even finished saying your sentence, and that was just so much fun.
I strive to be that person.
Yeah, same.
I'm always like a week later. Week later, I'm like, oh, that would have been a good comeback for that.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know when people are being mean sometimes. So I'm just
I feel like I'd rather that.
Sometimes it's a little awkward though.
Oh no.
So you had the most fun writing Kayla just because you could just be as sassy as you wanted.
Delphine, yes. Yes.
Delphine.
Yes. No, you're good. So many names. Yeah. But yeah, basically I was like, her personality, like she was just always the one that was like ready to eat anybody who was mean to her friends, and I love that. It's so much fun.
Every friend group needs that like fierce protector.
Yes.
They're usually a Leo. They're extroverted.
Yep.
I gotta bring the astrology back into
yes,
it.
exactly. You're so right. Leo or a Scorpio.
Sometimes Capricorns.
Mm-hmm.
So now, since you are so into astrology, like, do you know? You probably have like the whole chart for each of your characters. Do you do that?
I do. Full charts and enneagrams.
And enneagrams. Okay.
Yeah, it genuinely like helped me form different personalities, right? Because like when you have such a giant cast, like making sure that everyone has very distinct voices, but like at the same time that they have things that keep them together that besides just like convenience and circumstance, and also like people like that amount of people are also inevitably going to like clash. So knowing like their full birth charts really gave me moments of what levels do they connect on and what levels do they like repel on, and it was also just really fun and a good way to procrastinate editing.
So Ezra, what is he? What's his Enneagram?
Oh gosh, I have them all written down, which is funny. Ezra is something. I want to say he was like hold on. Sorry. I'm like, I have to remember all of their names and stuff because
You
they're
were
like
definitely not expecting to get this in an interview.
No, it's okay. Yeah, it's just like I have like a journal that I keep all of their information in and like their birthdays, everything like that. So I can like track each book and project like visually, which is really, really fun. So they're all like doodled in there. Ezra, I think, is either I think he's a 1 wing 5, which I think is like interesting that Enneagrams, like you have like a main one and then it's kind of like sun and moon signs and stuff like that. But yeah, he's like the reformer, and like the investigator, like a little bit of that too. He's
Is
a
he
lot to
Scorpio?
reform. He's actually an Aries.
Wow. Sorry.
Delphine's a Scorpio. No, Ezra, I always say, I think, ironically, I'm a little bit the most like him. And he was also probably the most difficult character for me to write because it's like a real balance of I don't want everyone to hate his guts. And it's like, but he's kind of the worst. But he's also really hot. So I don't know. It's just like walking that tightrope.
It's okay. My Enneagram is 8. Do you have their Myers-Briggs for?
I think I did do their Myers-Briggs, but
Amazing.
those I definitely don't know off the top of my head. I feel like there's the letters just like I can never keep them fully straight.
That's okay.
I know mine.
Amazing. This is the best way to build characters.
Yeah, honestly,
it just makes sense.
I was about to say it was so nice to like fully delve into all of them, and I had all this information that I was like, will probably never make it to the text or be useful in any way, except when you're in a tight spot and you need to like, what would they do in this moment? It was so nice to kind of have like a map, pretty much, to the character, which is nice.
Because if you have a Cancer character, they will just sit in the corner and cry.
As they should. I say that all the time. Actually,
Cancer friends.
I could never be the main character in a fantasy book because I absolutely would just sit down and cry and refuse to do anything. Like what Calla goes through could not be me.
No, at a certain point, I heard somebody talking about this with not The Walking Dead, The Last of Us. Basically, you have these folks at the end of the world, and like, what are you holding on to? Like it's scraps at a certain point, and I feel like if somebody said, "Hey, you need to save the world," there's these high stakes, I'd be like, is there a second option?
Yeah, truly. Because like anytime I get like emotionally stressed, I like online shop. So if I couldn't do that, how am I coping? I don't know. Couldn't do it.
But if it was like an apocalyptic situation, you'd have all those stores.
Okay, actually, maybe that would work for me.
But the malls wouldn't have power. So, oh my God, imagine having all those stores access to like Cartier and then everything's locked.
Yeah.
I mean, windows break. Windows break.
Oh, well.
Imagine
I didn't immediately go there.
there's like a full alien or zombie apocalypse outside, and you're like just breaking windows in jewelry stores. The priorities. That would be
Right.
me though.
Everybody's talking about astrology in the comments.
Oh, I love
All
it.
this astrological info makes me want to be like, tell me mine. Drop your birthday. We'll figure everything out. 10/11/93. I don't know. 10/11. You don't know whether or not it's European or
Libra? Oh, because they switch.
could be Scorpio. And in which case, no, thank you.
Yeah, I was about to say it's Libra or Scorpio. It's one of them.
Could be Sagittarius. No, still Scorpio. I think it's either way, it's Scorpio. We'll figure it out. KD, April 28th, 1969. You are a Taurus.
Taurus. We love Taurus.
3/12/86. You are a Pisces. I like this part of the chat. This is fun. October 11th, 1993. You are a Libra.
Mm-hmm.
This is great. Anybody else who doesn't know? Kaylie and I, we got this.
Let's say I could do this all day. I sometimes have all my friends' charts like stored in my phone, which is perhaps my serial killer trait, but it's really nice when they're like things are really stressful or like this and that, and I can like look up their chart and be like, oh, it's because this planet is here and this planet is here.
Every time
I just assume Mercury is always in retrograde.
You know what's funny is Mercury retrograde is not the worst to me. It's some of the other planets being in retrograde that I think is a little harder, but Mercury in retrograde got so like mainstream, I feel like.
I didn't even know. First of all, I didn't know planets did that. I'd like to know why Mercury hates all of us. What have we ever done to you, dude?
It's the planet of communication. Technology. And basically, the best thing to do during Mercury retrograde is nothing.
Yeah, it's because it's like
I'm always at work when it's at its peak, and I work in a bar with drunk people. So imagine how well my night goes.
Yeah, it's like traveling is really bad during retrograde, or like making sure you like back up anything you're writing or documents you have.
I mean, you shouldn't sign documents.
Right, and you shouldn't make any like major life decisions, stuff like that. It's fun stuff.
Should probably stay away from technology more than I already should.
Yeah.
Which characters are you hoping to explore more in the next book?
So book 2 is actually done. I'm literally turning in my edits this week.
Excellent. What's the title?
I can't. I was about to say. Wait, the way my first response almost went, and then I forget sometimes. No, yeah, but the next book really explores a lot more of Delphine and her background, and then also the Valkyries. We get like a very teeny tiny snippet of a Valkyrie and a Ruinous Fate, and then we get to like really see Amina and her friends and their world shine more in book 2, which was so much fun for me because we got out of there's a lot of stuff still happening with the forest and stuff like that, so it was like a chance for me to explore more of the world and that lovely map. So I was excited.
I'm going to show off the map because the map is intense.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there's a lot of folks who probably don't have this book and they're like, how intense could this map be? It's intense, besties.
There's so many little like Easter eggs in it, and I had so much fun working on that.
Did you design it?
So I did design it, and then what happened was I sent it to my publisher, and they got the most amazing artist named Sveta Dorshiva. I think I pronounced that. And she is such an incredible artist, and she just kind of took the little thing that I had mocked up, and she made it like stunning.
It's super detailed. It's
That is really
more
pretty.
detailed than any. And it's not detailed in a traditional sense either, because you can tell that this is not a topographical map.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can explain that a little bit, but basically these are regions.
Yeah.
This map is more of a guideline than a rule.
Yeah, exactly. I really wanted to, because the thing about the world is like every place in it has kind of its own theme and like possibilities and magic. I really wanted to be like so like the types of beings in it so expansive. So when we were like creating the map, I was like, it would be really cool if each section had kind of their own vibe. So like Estrella is very based on like the moon and the stars. Like they're famous for like their night sky and stuff like that. And then you have the witch realms, which each witch realm is famous for like their own types of plants and their own brand of magic and things like that. So it was literally so much fun. I like stuff like that, like little hidden Easter eggs, and you could just do a lot more with that than I think topographical sometimes. So it was really fun.
And it's pretty.
Yes, it's so pretty.
The book itself is pretty. So the hardcover is this beautiful sage green color. And like we've all seen the cover, and it's stunning. But the thing that I was talking to you about before the chat is that this book in and of itself feels very luxe. It feels a lot more expensive than your typical YA. And like even the binding is very nice. The paper is much nicer than your typical. Not that I don't love other books and things like that, but it almost feels like an adult fantasy novel.
Yeah. Honestly, my team was so incredible. Because when I kind of came to them, I'm a graphic designer in real life, and I work with printing materials and designs and stuff like that. And the one thing I told my editor was like, I'm probably gonna be a terror when it comes to like my cover and stuff. So I'm like so particular, but they were so incredible. Like the creative force they put behind like just all the things in the book, like when we were deciding where we wanted the map, like, do we want it inside or do we want the end pages? I'm the kind of person who like in papers, like when they have something on them, I just feel like it feels so much more expensive than just having it blank. So we kind of made that decision, and I'm so glad they let us do that. Or then like the title page in the book is like full black, like flood, which I also like because it just helps with that like witchy vibe. And I get to sign all the books with like metallic purple markers, which is really fun. And then the like soft touch of the cover, it's like that velvet feel, which I love. And then of course like Charlie Bowder, the artist, I fought tooth and nail to have her do my cover. I did not stop bothering them. The first thing we did when we sold the book is I sent my editor an email and was like, this is my dream artist. And she was like, okay, let's be like realistic. I was like, she's obviously she's so talented. She's so busy. But I wanted her so bad. And they actually had picked another artist. And that artist ended up being busy, like too busy to do it. Like the deadlines just didn't work out. And they were going to email somebody else, and I like jumped in and I was like, I'm begging you to just send an email to Charlie. Like if she says no, she says no. But she said yes. And I was like, okay, see, things work out for a reason.
I mean, I think that we all have, as like YA readers, a really soft spot for Charlie Bowater.
She is, yeah. And she really made me like love like visuals for books and stuff. Like the Tumblr era, her art everywhere. I loved it.
I normally don't like humans on the cover.
Oh.
And I really don't like the faceless human trend. That's been unsettling. But I really like Charlie Bowater because I like the hyper realistic vibe. But this is beautiful. So the rest of your books all going to have faces on them?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. I love when books look like they just belong together. So I got the second book cover actually yesterday, and it's stunning. I'm so excited.
And I like that you can easily see that it is one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really weird thing for me to maybe hyper focus on, but this happens on so few novels. And I just like that I can line them up by number on my bookshelf. That's it for no other reason, actually.
Honestly, you know what? I haven't seen that on novels in like a really long time. I feel like you get it a lot on like, I don't know, kind of like old school sci-fi paperbacks. You know, they'll always have like book 1, book 2.
It was
you don't
like,
see it too much.
I think my designer brought it up first because I kind of had a meeting, and the thing about it's a quartet, this series, and so YA used to be like very trilogy based. Like everyone wanted trilogies, and we've actually moved, I think, more to like standalone and duologies. And I think everyone has their preference. I love a duology. I love a standalone. But I'm a very character driven author. Like all of my books are going to be character driven first and foremost. And so I knew I wanted a longer series so we could like spend more time getting to know such a large cast of characters. And I was like, if it's going to be a quartet, like if it's going to be 4 books, I feel like we need to let people know ahead of time, like the investment that they're making. Like this isn't just like a 1 or 2 book thing. Like you're going to be here for a while. So I think my designer was like, all right, let's make this so clear. Let's put the numbers on the spine. Like
I like it, but then I like really big series too. Some of my favorite fantasy series are like massive.
Mm-hmm. I feel like they used to do that a lot more often, like especially like in the early 2000s. Like there were so many like 7-8 book series. And I just love that because it's like when you're really comfortable in a world and you already know all the rules, it's like just so nice to like sit and like read, like catching up with friends. And that's really what I wanted this to be.
Yeah, I mean that's why most standalones I'm like, well, I wish there was at least a second book.
I feel like you always crave more. Me too. My favorite book is Sorcery of Thorns, and like literally when I heard she was coming out with the novella, oh my god, like I was over the moon because all I want to do is like just read about them forever, doing nothing.
Yeah.
They don't have to do anything.
Do you have it?
And honestly, I feel like that's my big. I love a good standalone. I absolutely love a standalone, especially because I get tired of buying like 3 books sometimes. I'm like, God, can this just? Why are we still doing this? Yeah. But I hate it because some of my favorite standalones, I'm like, I want you to go on for forever though. Yes. So basically, I'm just impossible to please, I guess. I don't know.
It's a very like mood reader thing. Yeah. Cause I'm like, sometimes I want like a one and done. Like I love getting invested just enough. Like it's so nice and succinct. But other times I'm like, yeah, I need 50 books in this series. Like I will never be mad.
If it's a true romance, I want it as a standalone.
Yeah.
If
that's the story, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's standalone. It does not need to go on for 3 books.
I'm doing that right now, actually. My next project is a standalone romance because I feel the exact same way. I'm like, I want it to be like a little done. So I think it's because I don't want to have time to ruin it. And I feel like inevitably with like a romance, there's always like, you know, the 3-act breakup, stuff like that. So I'm like, if it's a standalone, you can't hurt me twice.
Yeah. That's like my least favorite. That's probably why I don't read a lot of romance books in general. Because I hate where it's like, you know, there's like all the tension and then they get together. And then somebody inevitably does the world's stupidest thing. And because it's always and it's always so stupid. And I just want to throw the book across the room. And then they end up, you know, and you know they're going to be back together, but I can't get through those last like 30 pages because I'm just so enraged at their stupidity. And I'm like, why am I even doing this to myself?
It's like the nature of the beast. Like it really is so necessary sometimes, just like plot things. But yeah, it's like when you feel it coming, it's like you just want to ignore it happening almost. Like if I just stop reading now, it'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people agree with you, Amanda. I can see it in the comments. But then somebody just said, Amanda, just go with it. It's just swallow the
Send me
frustration.
that person's name. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I don't think you were allowed to have beef with a vet.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
no,
the nicest
that's
person
fine.
in the world.
It's okay.
I dare you.
Then we're totally cool then.
Kaylie, what do you hope readers find and take away from A Ruinous Fate?
Oh, I think my biggest thing is just that no matter what you're going through with your identity, because that's like a very big emotional arc in the book, or like finding yourself, that you understand that you are like a whole complete person as is, and like you don't have to split yourself into different parts for different people, because if someone cannot accept every single part of you, then that person is just not meant to be in your life. And I think that's a really hard lesson to learn when you're young. I struggled with that so much because I wanted to just be liked by everybody, but then you grow up and you realize like life is really, really, really short. And like too short to not love yourself, like first and foremost. Like you are the longest relationship you'll ever have. And that was definitely like when I wrote Calla's story, it was just, I struggled with it, I think, for so long because I hadn't finished growing out of that mindset. And then when I finally was, and I was a fully formed adult, it like going back, it was like writing down my experiences was like really healing, and through Calla. So that's my biggest thing.
I think that's exactly what they're going to take away from it. So I'm glad that those all align. And so far, this book is really lovely, and I can't wait to read it for the rest of the night. I know that you're working on, you're finished book 2
Mm-hmm.
completely. So you're working on 3 and 4.
Yep.
Hopefully you get a little bit of a break.
Yeah, like 2 weeks. I'm like, I definitely like editing book 2. I didn't account for like launching a book, how in depth that is. So I took a few weeks off from book 2, and now I'm like, oh gosh, book 3 is impending. That's okay. I'm excited about book 3 more than anything.
Ah, so book 3 has your favorite character.
Book 3 has book 3 has my favorite a lot of things.
Oh.
I always say if you can get to book 3, we're rocking.
So how will you break us in book 2?
Well, that was comforting.
I know, right? So evil that was.
I was about to say, get back to me when you finish book 1. My condolences early, but I do think it's funny because I get DMs going, I cannot believe you did that, and I'm like, bestie, ruinous is in the title. It is. It will ruin you. Yes.
I hope that's exactly what you say to people in Instagram. The best ruinous is in the title. LOL, Kaylie.
I do say that with like some cute emojis, so you know I'm not serious. Because they get really mad at me, and I'm so sorry in advance.
I hope you have like a mug that says like reader's tears.
Yes, I do. It's my husband got that for me actually for Christmas.
It's awesome.
My favorite thing.
One thing I like to ask is your debut.
Mm-hmm.
This is a brand spanking new book. You're a brand spanking new author. I mean, I know that you've probably written for years, but this is the big thing. What did you do the moment you found out that Hyperion had picked this up?
I actually was coming out of surgery, and so a little high on anesthesia, and I look at my phone and I had like 50 missed calls from my agent, and I just knew. So I was already crying when I called her back, and she was like, Disney offered on your book, and my husband was driving, and I just feel like the words coming out of my mouth were not coherent. I was just sobbing because it was just like all of that hard work coming to a head in that moment. It was just like, I don't know, it's indescribable amount of joy.
Overwhelming.
Yeah.
Definitely a highlight reel.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's sometimes I wish maybe I would have like had the sense to like record it or something, but I don't know. It's really nice. My memory just like lives in my head, and it's like just my really hard days when like the imposter syndrome kicks in and stuff. I just remember like I did that. Even if people hate my book, like I accomplished something for myself and I love it so much, and like that's perfect for me.
Did you do anything to treat yourself or celebrate?
I commissioned a bunch of art of the characters.
Nice.
Yeah, I was like, finally, it's a real thing. I feel like I just felt like official finally. I was like, now we can get them like drawn, and it ended up being the pre-order goodies. So it was really nice, little treat.
That's awesome. Well, I hope this wasn't too weird for you. Do you think you'll come
No,
back and hang out again?
absolutely, anytime. I had so much fun.
We loved hanging out with you here in the nest. I did get one kind of generic question from Sade, and I want to answer. Yes, we're going to do lots more of these chats. Actually, there's going to be like 100 this year, so stay tuned to the nest. And I did want to remind everybody that our next live chat is going to be on February 3rd at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'll be hanging out with our beloved Kendara Blake, and we will be talking about her latest release, Only Girl in the World, which is, of course, a continuation of the Buffy series. And I believe actually the same imprint that you're with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, love that book. Next Generation.
Yeah, it's such a great series. So we're going to be
Mm-hmm.
hanging out with Kendara on Friday, and we have so much more for you here in the nest. Just go ahead and check the events. I've put up everything for February, and it's a lot. So we're going to have a lot of fun this month, and I hope that everybody has a great evening.